So it's not just about what we think.
Yeah.
It's about how we feel about what we think.
And ultimately, this leads to his main call to action.
Okay.
He wants Black Americans to, break free
Yeah.
from what he sees as mental chains
Yeah.
and start thinking for themselves.
It's powerful, he's saying. Don't just believe what you're told. Question everything.
Do your own research.
Right, do your own research. But, where do we even begin with all of this?
Right.
This is just like the tip of the iceberg.
It is, for sure.
Right.
Absolutely. There's so much more to explore here.
Okay.
And, I'm excited to dive deeper into these arguments, how they connect to, broader trends. But for now,
Yeah.
let's take a break and we'll come back to this in the next part of the deep dive.
Sounds good.
It's striking as we go through this, how he uses his personal journey as a framework for understanding this, complex political landscape.
It really is. He's essentially saying, look, I was trapped in this cycle of self-destruction.
Right.
And I thought people were helping me, but they were actually enabling me to stay stuck. And I see a similar dynamic at play here between Black Americans and the Democratic Party.
It's a bold comparison.
Yeah.
And it raises some interesting questions like, is it fair to compare, addiction to political affiliation?
Right.
Or is he oversimplifying things?
I'm honestly not sure. But it definitely makes you think, about how deeply these personal experiences can influence our political views.
For sure.
And he doesn't shy away from using strong language.
Oh, really?
At one point, he even uses the analogy of a cult.
Wow.
To describe the Democratic Party.
Okay.
Saying that, anyone who disagrees is ostracized.
That's a pretty loaded term.
Yeah.
And it speaks to, the intensity of his convictions.
Yeah.
But it also raises the question of, how much of our political identity is shaped by, our individual values versus pressures and narratives we encounter from our communities, from our families, from the media.
Right. It's almost like he's suggesting that some people might be voting a certain way.
Yeah.
Not because they genuinely believe in it.
Right.
But because they're afraid of being rejected.
Right.
By their social group.
That's a pretty powerful idea.
It really is how much of our political identity is truly our own.
Right. And how much is it influenced by these outside forces?
Right. Exactly. And this speaker is really challenging us to examine those influences. He's basically saying, don't just accept what you've been told.
Question everything.
Right. Question everything. Do your own research.
Break free from the mental chains.
Yeah, and it's interesting how he connects this message of personal liberation to the broader historical narrative of Black empowerment. He brings up figures like Martin Luther King Jr. And the Civil Rights Movement and suggests that true progress comes from challenging the established order.
Challenging the status quo.
Right, and fighting for individual freedom.
Yeah, he even challenges this common perception that the Civil Rights Movement had widespread support.
Right.
Saying it was actually a relatively small group of individuals who really sparked this revolution.
It's a reminder that change often starts
Yeah.
with just a small group of people.
Absolutely.
Who are really passionate and willing to stand up
Right.
for what they believe in.
Even when it's unpopular.
Even when it's unpopular. And by drawing this parallel,
Yeah.
he's suggesting that today's Black Americans have a similar opportunity
Okay.
to lead a movement for change.
This time, a change in mindset.
Right. This time it's a change in mindset.
And a rejection of what he sees as limiting beliefs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's calling for a new kind of civil rights movement.
A new kind.
One that's focused on freeing people.
Freeing people from mental and emotional oppression.
Right. And it's important to remember as we're going through this that this deep dive is not about endorsing or rejecting any particular political stance.
Exactly.
We're simply trying to understand this speaker's perspective.
His perspective.
Claims he's making.
William claims.
And the deeper questions he's raising.
The deeper questions.
Right. And our goal is to equip you, the listener.
Yeah.
With the tools to critically examine these ideas.
Make your own judgments.
Right, make your own judgment.
Engage in meaningful dialogue.
Yeah, and engage in these conversations.
Absolutely.
Now, as we move into the final part of this deep dive, I'm curious to see how he ties all of this together.
Right, because he's laid out some pretty bold claims.
Yeah, he's about history, about politics, about the power of belief systems.
Where do you think he's going with all this?
Yeah, where does this all lead?
One thing that's been consistent throughout this video is his focus on personal responsibility.
Okay.
He seems to believe that ultimately we have the power to break free from any system or ideology that's holding us back.
So he's not just like pointing fingers.
Right.
He's offering a solution.
He's offering a solution, a way forward.
Yeah, a way forward.
He seems to believe that true liberation begins with, taking ownership of our own beliefs and making conscious choices about how we want to live our lives.
But how does he reconcile this emphasis on individual agency with his claims about systemic oppression?
That's something I'm really interested to explore further.
I am too. Let's jump into this final part and see where this all leads. As we wrap up this deep dive, I'm really struck by just like the passion behind this guy's message.
Yeah.
Like you can really tell he believes what he's saying.
He really does. And I think that conviction comes from like a place of deep concern, Yeah. He really believes that Black Americans are being harmed by this, system. He calls the Democratic plantation.
He even goes so far as to compare the opposition to Black integration to the destruction of Black Wall Street.
Wow.
Saying that, those same forces that fought against Black progress are now, disguised as allies.
Pretty heavy accusation.
It is. And it's a prime example of how he weaves in these historical events to his argument about like modern day media manipulation.
Right. So he's claiming that those same groups who historically oppressed Black Americans are now controlling the narrative.
Right. Through media.
Through the media, yeah.
And he specifically calls out the fact that 6 major corporations control the majority of left-leaning media.
That's
a familiar argument, this idea that a handful of powerful entities are shaping what we see and hear.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think there's any truth to that?
I mean, it's definitely true that media ownership is highly concentrated.
Right.
But whether or not they're actively manipulating the news to serve their own interests
is a different story.
It's a much more complex question.
For sure.
This speaker seems to think so.
Okay.
He even says he was initially drawn to Donald Trump.
Oh, wow.
Because the media seemed to be so against him.
So it's almost like
he took the negative coverage as proof that Trump was like challenging a corrupt system.
That's interesting. It's like the psychological phenomenon where sometimes we interpret opposition as validation.
Yeah.
Especially if we already distrust the source of that opposition.
Right. So it's not just about the facts themselves.
Yeah.
It's about who's presenting those facts.
Exactly.
And what their motivations might be.
It makes you wonder how much of what we believe is shaped by, our pre-existing biases.
Exactly. And this brings us back to like his central theme.
Okay.
The power of belief systems.
Right.
And he argues that our beliefs can literally shape our reality. Even if they're based on, misinformation or distorted narratives.
And he uses some pretty strong language
to
make that point.
He even calls this mindset of Black Americans who consistently vote Democrat a delusion.
Do you think that's fair?
I don't know. It's definitely provocative.
Yeah.
And, some might find it offensive, but I think it underscores his concern,
His concern, yeah.
That Black Americans are being misled.
Yeah.
Even if it's unintentional.
Even if it's unintentional.
He sees them as trapped in this cycle of disempowerment.
And it's not just about politics either, right?
No.
He's talking about a much broader societal thing.
Yeah, he's talking about this idea that we can be so caught up in our beliefs that we become blind to alternative perspectives.
Absolutely. It's a challenge we all face, right?
Yeah.
In this age of information overload.
Yeah. How do we break free from these echo chambers, these filter bubbles?
How do we develop those critical thinking skills?
Right, when we're constantly being bombarded with information that just confirms what we already believe.
It's a lot to think about, for sure.
It is, but ultimately, I think this speaker's message is one of empowerment.
Yeah.
He's urging Black Americans, and really all of us, to question everything, to think for ourselves, and to take control of our own narratives.
That's a really powerful message.
Yeah, and it resonates far beyond this one YouTube video.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a reminder that we all have the capacity to, challenge the status quo, question our assumptions.
Shape our own destiny.
Exactly.
Okay. We're going to be looking at something a little bit different.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's a YouTube video titled The Illusion of White Privilege, the Gateway to Anti-White Racism.
Wow.
From the channel Aquarius Wave. And I think this is going to be really interesting.
It's a hot topic for sure.
Yeah, really hot topic. And I think we're going to learn some stuff here.
I hope so.
So the video's creator is a Black man, and he starts off with a really provocative question.
Oh, really?
He says, can Black people be racist? And right off the bat, that kind of challenges a lot of conventional thinking on race and racism. So
yeah, for sure.
What are your initial thoughts on that?
Well,
Can Black people be racist?
It's interesting because it really depends on how you define racism.
Right.
And I think that's something that the video really digs into.
Okay.
Is it about prejudice? Is it about power? Is it about both?
Yeah.
I think those are all questions that we need to consider.
Yeah, definitely. And to illustrate his point, the creator shares this really personal story about moving from a diverse city to a predominantly white rural town.
Okay.
And he says, going into it, he fully expected to encounter white privilege firsthand.
Right.
But what he found actually surprised him.
Oh, wow. So what happened?
Well, that's where the video gets really interesting. The creator starts to contrast his experiences in this small town with his life in, a more diverse urban setting.
I see.
And I think that's such a powerful point because it highlights the danger of assuming everyone who's white has the same experiences and advantages.
Right, exactly. It challenges this idea of a monolithic white experience.
Right. You can't just lump everyone together based on their race.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really important point to remember as we kind of unpack the rest of this video.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So then he takes it a step further.
Right.
He compares his own upbringing in a supportive two-parent household to the experiences of a white friend who grew up facing poverty and hardship.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. This isn't fitting into the neat little boxes that we often create around race and privilege.
I see what you're saying. It's challenging those assumptions.
Yeah, it really is. And it makes you think like, okay, maybe race isn't the only factor at play here.
Right. There's so many other things that shape our lives.
Definitely. And this kind of leads into one of the creator's biggest frustrations, which is this idea of constantly shifting goalposts in discussions about race.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, he argues that it feels almost impossible to have a productive conversation.
Right.
When the definition of racism and who can be racist seems to keep changing.
Yeah, I can see how that would be frustrating.
Like it's this moving target.
Makes sense.
And he uses some really compelling examples in the video to illustrate this point.
Oh, like what?
Okay, so for instance, when someone argues that Black people can't be racist because they lack power, others might point to wealthy Black individuals like Oprah Winfrey or LeBron James.
Yeah.
But then the argument shifts to say, well, those are just exceptions. And if you bring up systemic power structures,
right,
even Black individuals in positions of power are dismissed as being puppets of a white supremacist system.
That's a tough one.
It's like, where do you even go from there?
Yeah, it can feel like a circular argument.
Exactly. And this is where the creator introduces this term woke ideology.
Okay.
And he argues that this ideology relies on this very simplistic oppressor versus oppressed dynamic.
I see.
And that this can actually prevent individuals from taking responsibility for their own choices and actions.
So he sees it as a cycle of blame that ultimately hinders personal growth.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So I'm with him on a lot of this, but I'm also wondering, how does this critique of woke ideology square with the very real impact of systemic barriers?
That's a great question.
Like, is he downplaying those?
Yeah, and it's something we'll definitely dig into further.
Okay, good.
But, the creator doesn't deny the existence of systemic issues, but he does challenge whether focusing solely on those issues absolves individuals of personal responsibility.
So instead of just focusing on what we can't control, maybe he's encouraging us to identify areas where we can take action.
Exactly. And he calls this personal agency.
Personal agency. I like that.
Instead of blaming external factors, he encourages viewers to focus on taking action, learning from mistakes, and adapting to changing circumstances.
I'm really starting to see how this video challenges some of the traditional narratives around race and responsibility.
Yeah, it's definitely pushing us to think differently.
And it seems like he's suggesting a more nuanced understanding of these really complex issues.
Absolutely.
And one of the most compelling aspects of the video is how he connects this idea of personal agency to his own success on YouTube. So let's dive into that next. How does he actually walk the walk with his own channel?
All right, let's do it.
So how does this play out? Like, how does he use his YouTube channel as a case study?
Yeah, so he's really intentional about it.
Yeah.
He talks about, analyzing what's working, what's not working, and refining his content based on how people are responding to it.
It's interesting because he could easily blame the algorithm, for lack of success or whatever, but instead he's choosing to focus on what he can control.
Exactly.
You know, his content, his message, his connection with his audience.
Yeah, and it really highlights this difference between like a victimhood mentality and a more empowered mindset.
Right.
He's basically saying, I'm not going to let these external things dictate my success.
Yeah.
You know, I'm taking ownership.
He's taking control. And that really resonates with his core argument about personal responsibility.
Oh, for sure.
Being so essential for achieving any kind of meaningful change.
Absolutely. And he even uses this interesting analogy. He compares life to a video game.
Okay.
Instead of getting stuck on a level and blaming the game's design, he's saying, like, figure out how to level up, you know, develop new skills, learn new things, and overcome the challenge.
I love that analogy.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really speaks to that idea of taking control.
Yeah.
Not letting yourself be defined by your circumstances.
Exactly.